Hello students, welcome back to the new session. So today we will be starting a new module, that is module 7. In this module we will learn majorly about annotative objects. You will be learning how to create text, single line text. You have already as a beginner you had already learned. I had taught you in the previous modules. So in this one we'll do a revision as well as we'll do the extra options which we had left in the last time when we were learning, and we'll also learn about multi-line text, edit tool, how to edit them, the text styles, how to combine text, the table tool, that is also a part of annotative objects. So how to modify a table style, and not exactly properties palette, but some of these tools are edited through properties palette. So we will be learning that through this palette. So basically, major part would be annotative objects. So the upcoming modules as well, in the 8th as well, in 8th module, to annotative object will be continued for further 2-3 modules. Okay. So I'll come to annotative objects, which basically what are annotative objects, you all must be thinking. Before that, I want to show you a sample project. Like in the previous module when I started module 6, I had shown you 2 drawings, majorly from civil background, that is draft files foundation. Today I will show you an example of architecture drawing. So the basic motive here is to show you what complexity level we can achieve in AutoCAD. So like here you can see so many detailing in drawings can be done within AutoCAD. Even minute to minute detailing you can do. You can create facades, that is the front elevation of a building. You can even use symbols to show landscaping, cars, people. See? So just to give an original feel. Okay? So that we can actually relate to it how the measurements would be in terms of the height of people. So the staircases, the floors, this is a 7-story building basically. Okay? Starting from the basement till the terrace. So you can create elevations, then you can create different layouts wherein again you can show the landscaping part. You can use different tools to line types, I would say line type, line weight, to show the difference between the objects which are to be shown and the objects which are to be hidden, or the object which has more height and which has low height. So you can separate it. You can detail each and every section of your particular flat or a residential area or a tower or a society, anything. Okay, so you can create sections, you can create furnitures, detailing. See the complete section of a building, cut section, wherein each and every floor, each and every material can also be shown. It is a brick wall, it is a concrete wall. Okay. This is the complete building from outside. So each and everything through labeling to dimension, we can label it, we can mention each and everything. Okay. So like this, within a particular drawing, you can mention each and everything. Even a sheet layout can be saved and presented. So the presentation can be also worked on. Okay. I'll show you one more example. See, it is not compulsory that it should be a complete rectangular tower building. It can be something like this. This is an ashram. Okay. So a complicated one which does not have a defined enclosed area. So because it has a passage, it has an open area, it has different types of floorings used. So see, there is a legend here with different types of floorings which have been used: Sidarali granite, terracotta tiles, desert sand, Bianco Roma stone. So different stones, different granites, each and everything has been defined There is a legend here. There are some instruction notes which you can mention. A complete presentation of your drawing. Okay. So all of the working can be done. Labeling can be done. Treads, risers, landing. Like this is a flooring plan, so everything is in relation to flooring. Wherever which different floorings have been applied, a single coat, a double coat, it's an epoxy flooring. So different types of motifs can be drawn within your AutoCAD. See, a complex motif for flooring. So these all can be done in AutoCAD. Okay, and because of blocks and layers, it becomes easy to apply and use or reuse your objects. Like for example, we have a similar bed for each and every area, so this can be used as a block and applied to each and every room wherever required. So I don't have to make it again and again like in manual drawings. Layers helps me to work on these complex drawings. See the big huge list of layers. Okay, so I'll even show you the different, see the complexity of the pattern. Same way you can even create such patterns. See how smoothly it is done. See this one. So grills, window patterns, you can do everything. Door patterns, you can even bring different styles in AutoCAD, like Victorian styles in architectural. If I talk about in architecture background, I'm talking about. So that was the ground floor. This is the first floor. So here you can see more rooms, the detailing of a particular flooring. See, through labeling. So it becomes easier for the person who is reading as well. Okay, who is going to actually work on site and apply these details practically. Okay, so see each and every detail of every door, every window, wherever it is provided, the sill level, the lintel level, the location, the opening size. Okay, so each and everything is there in your drawing. Okay, the overall outer layout. So it doesn't mean that you can only have to work in rectangles and all. It can be different form. You can work on forms as well. Okay. So the main motive was to show you how complex things you can create in AutoCAD. So there is no limit. Because in manual drafting you have a limit. You have to change your sheets. You have to create minute detailings. Because here you can zoom in and create it. You can create one and reapply them by copying and placing it, by mirroring it. Like I can make one portion and then the other portion can be mirrored. I can create copies, I can scale it. So I have so many tools in AutoCAD through which I can create anything, almost everything. Okay, may it be very minute, may it be bigger. Okay, so any shape, alright, any type of curve. Yes, as a software, it has some limitations, but again, you can still play with the limitations. Okay, there is so much to do. So I would say almost you will achieve whatever you want to draw, because that would be something which has to be as a practical approach, which has to be practically applied as per the industry. So that definitely you will be able to draw. But these things will only come through practice. As and when you practice more and more, now we are almost on the 70th class session. So means 70, already 69 sessions you have gone through in AutoCAD. That's a very good amount of sessions. So now you can try to create complex drawings. you can try the students which are from architecture background, they can try creating 2 BHKs, a studio apartment or a kitchen or a bedroom. You can start with layouts now, and you can then move on to bigger layouts, complex layouts. Just start with simple ones, like maybe take a bedroom or take a kitchen and try to do the detailing, and then later on move on to the complete set. And same way, students with mechanical background, they can start doing small minute detailings of complex mechanical tools which you would be requiring. So you can save them for further use, for further say application in your drawings. You'll in the coming up modules you'll be learning how to make blocks as well. That would be a very good tool for you to save your different tools or different parts or different objects, give them a name and create a folder. So whenever you require, like for example, in architecture, we majorly require a WC. If I talk about a washroom, so majorly we require a WC, a urinal, a wash basin, in a kitchen, a sink, a cooktop, a cooking range, complete range with an oven. We also require sink, double sink, triple sink with a drainer. So the common things, we can create a folder and save it. I would say you can create, I can say you can create a CAD library of your own. You can create your own CAD library, okay, wherein you can save all the blocks, your important drawings, like in architecture if I talk about, like sample of beds, common standard sizes of beds, of side tables, of sofa sets. So whenever you require, you just have to pick and draw, like from the design center. Okay. Definitely every project is special and every project is needs customization, but still we need some standard things. So AutoCAD really helps in that part. We do not have to make it again and again. And then we already have saved installed hatches in it. So a representation of a wall, representation of a concrete wall or a concrete base. So it's easy with AutoCAD. Okay. So let's start with our new module. So the first topic we'll be covering today is annotative objects. So what are annotations according to you? Yes, I will tell you, but you also need to answer me. Okay. So write something about it, whatever comes in your mind or according to your understanding, and then you have to just send that answer to us by mail. Okay. So basically annotations is, I would say in simple words, every object in your drawing which is not a model or a geometry is an annotation object. Simple. So means other than your geometrical objects or your model objects, every object is an annotative object. Like see here, I have a list: text, multi-text or single text, dimensions, leaders, that is how with this help of leaders you can label it, multi-leaders, hatches. The hatches is basically the textures, like a brick texture, a concrete texture, a glass texture. You all must be knowing it because we do that through manual drafting as well. Tolerances, blocks, attributes. So each and every thing here is an annotative object. Okay, that's why I said every object in your drawing which is not a model or geometry, it's an annotative object, right? So here all these objects have an annotative property with them. So this property basically allows you to use that process of automatic display. Okay. So there is this automatic process of display wherein in your drawings, whatever the scale you desire on paper, you can see on your model space as well. This annotation property was added in AutoCAD 2008 version. So before 2008, it was not there. So that's why as we are using it, So I would say this is one of the most useful tools of AutoCAD. Okay, why I'll tell you. Before this, when it was not there in the previous version, older versions, that is before 2008, the task of plotting objects, that is printing objects, because the basic final result is nothing but you have to plot your drawings. Okay, so the task of plotting objects with correct scale for different viewports, because we majorly work on viewports, was a very time consuming job before 2008 versions. We had to make multiple copies of the same object for different scales. If we want different scales for a particular object, we had to make that object multiple times, or we have to make that multiple copies of that object with different scales. And then all of these objects were put in different layers for each viewport. Okay, and then during the plotting part, only the appropriate layer was turned on, keeping all the rest of the layers as off. So by hearing also you can judge it is a very complex and confusing process, I would say. And because of this process, the files which you used to save were huge ones, very large size files. Okay, so but now because of this annotative scale property, or I would say automation scaling, presenting our drawing in different scales is very easy and quick. It's very, I would say, it has speed up our work. It consumes less of our precious time, because time is everything for all of us in the industry. Okay, so the first topic which we will be covering today, before anything else, before learning the texting and leaders and dimensions and everything, the first thing which we will cover today is annotation scale. Because you need to understand this feature. This feature, the annotation scale, basically is a feature in your AutoCAD. It is a property. So it allows you to control the size of the annotative objects, of all the annotative objects in your model space. Paper space is that space wherein you would be working, or I would say, you would set a scale which you want on paper, because that would be a part of plotting. So you would be plotting as per your paper size. So in model space, you can control the size of all the objects through this feature, this annotation scale. So basically, all the calculation in regard to the heights which you do, which you provide to your object in your model space, is automatically calculated by AutoCAD when you switch on the automation process of this annotation scale, which is there in your status bar. Okay. So basically, if you want to create something with a different scale on your model space, but you want to print on a different scale, so it is possible. As I said just now, that before 2008, when it was not there, we had to make a single object with different scales again and again. We had to copy the objects and then provide different scales and then put it in different layers. But now it is not required. With a single layer and with a single object, you can provide multiple annotation scales to a single object. And still on paper scale, on paper space, you can, with the current annotation scale, it will provide you the print. Okay. Now, how to assign this annotative property, or I would say annotation scales? Now, this can be assigned first and foremost through your properties palette. That's why I said we will be using this covering this properties palette again, because you can assign these annotative properties through this property palette. Even in fact, in the last session that in the last to last session, that is when I was using, showing you the assignments, I was using this annotative property. I was changing the property of that line type scale of the lines of the center lines of my objects within the assignments. That time I was not using the annotation scale feature. That's why I had to change again and again manually, because this can be done two ways. One is manually and one is automatically. Okay, so you can assign either manually, which I was doing in the assignment time. in the assignment session, and the other one is automatically when you switch on through your status bar. I'll show you where it is. Okay, when you provide your drawing with these annotative objects, basically when you specify these objects on your drawing, may it be a text, may it be hatches, may it be blocks, whenever you open these objects dialog boxes, you will see an annotative checkbox. It is there. So whenever you select that, so automatically it will have the annotative property with it. So with this property, you can always apply different annotation scales. So it will follow the annotation scale. AutoCAD will automatically calculate it. Okay, and you can anytime override the property even by manually doing it through properties palette. So you can go into the general and you can change the line type scale, or like in text, if it is a text, so you can change the properties of the text. So here, like see in this figure, annotative is no. If it is yes, so automatically it will capture the scale. Okay? And whenever you invoke your annotative objects in your drawing, this annotation symbol is attached to the cursor if your automated annotation scale is on. Okay, this is attached like here in with this text. This is the symbol of annotation. Okay, now how to assign the annotation scale? I'll show you in AutoCAD. See in your status bar, I already have this switched on. Otherwise, you can go into customization. Here, three things are there: annotation visibility, auto scale, and annotation scale. Okay, so you can assign the annotation scale while you're working in the model space by choosing any of the scale in your current view. See, this is the list of the scales which you can use in your current view. See, if you move your cursor over this, so it is written annotation scale of the current view. So you can click to adjust scale. So you have different scales here. Even you can customize your scale. Okay. By default, it always takes 1:1. Okay. So when I click on customize, see 1:1 means 1 paper unit is equal to 1 drawing unit. So you can even add scales. You can name a scale. You can scale. You can set the scale properties like if you want to change 1:10, 1:20, so you can do accordingly. Or you can even edit. Like here, you can change the name. You can click any of them and edit. And you can even customize the order. If I click move up, so 1:4 will go on the second number. If I move down, it will come to the third number. So you can change your list or you set this list according to your preference. Even you can delete some of the scales which you do not require as of now in your drawing. And you do not want to show it in the status bar. Okay. And if you feel that you have done some errors or you just want the by default list, you can reset it. Okay. So the scales here, this is a complete list. 1:1, 1:2 means 1 paper is equal to 2 drawing units. 1:10, 1 paper unit is equal to 10 drawing units. So here, even there is a help button wherein you can take the help of Autodesk Center. Okay. So you can add, you can edit, you can move up and move down to change the order. You can delete any of the scale and you can reset the complete list as well. Okay. Right, by going into custom. Alright, so this is what is customization annotation scale is about. Okay. So you can customize any of the scale and you can select. By default it is 1:1:1. You can even select 1:20. So now see the new value for Cano scale. The Cano scale is the system variable in where the annotation scale is saved. So the system variable Cano scale is always 1:1 by default. Okay. You will always get the system variable from this. Whenever you use a command, like see when I used any of these commands, it is showing the system variables. Anno all visible means all of the annotative objects are visible. So it is using by default 1. You can give a value 0 as well. So here the last system variable which I used is Cano scale. So now the Cano scale value is 1:20. Otherwise, by default it was 1:1. Okay. So I'll go to 1:1. So see, it is again nanoscale is 1:1. So you can learn the system variables through your command line. Okay. So customization is clear. You can edit the drawing scales. Okay, next. Multiple annotation scale. As I said, you can apply multiple annotation scales to a single object as well. So how to invoke this tool? You can go to ribbon in annotate, you will find annotation scaling, and therein you can go to add or delete scales. Or in menu bar, you can go to modify. In annotative object scale, you can again go to add or delete scales. In command line, you can type object scale and press enter. So how can you assign these multiple annotation scale to a single object? Manually or automatically. Okay? So basically, the purpose here is this multiple annotation scale enables you to display or print the same annotative object in different sizes. Okay? So when you apply 2 to 3 annotations to a single object, so you can print the same object with different sizes. Okay, but the printing would be done only on the current annotation scale. That is there in your status bar. The current annotation scale is as of now 1:1, so it will scale on 1:1. If you have paper space, if you were using paper space to print for printing, so this set scale in your paper space would be printed. Okay. Remember one thing: the model space annotation scale and the paper space annotation scales are totally independent. They're not like whatever you set in model space would be there in paper space. But AutoCAD will calculate, and accordingly it will represent. If in a paper space you have given 1/4 inches, and here you are working on half inches, so accordingly it will set the height. When you move on to paper space, so it will recalculate the scale and print it. Okay, so basically our time saves here because of this property, this feature, multiple annotation scale. So you do not have to make different layers for every object for different sizes. Okay, now how to assign manually? See, when you have an annotation object in your drawing, so manually you can type object scale, that is the command, in your command line, and then invoke the add delete scales tool. So that you can do by using the annotation scaling panel in the ribbon. In annotation tab, see here, I'll show you. In annotation tab, here annotation scaling, there is this button for add or delete scales. Okay, so when you select this, it will prompt you to select the annotation object in your drawing. So when you select any of the object, so here this annotation object scale dialog box will open. So it will show the object scale, that is it is currently it is using 1:1. You can add on more scales to it. Okay, so here there are two radio buttons. One is list all scales for selected objects, or list scales common to all selected objects. So for example, you have 3-4 annotation objects. So when you select all of them, so here it will list all the scales for the selected objects, or if you select the second one, that is it will list scales common to all the selected objects. So which is common to all the selected objects, it will show here. If you select the second radio button, if in the first button, it will show all the scales for all the objects. Okay, whether it is there for a particular object or there or not. For example, if you have an annotation object 1, so it has 1:1 and 1:2, and the annotation object 2 has 1:4, but it will show all the 3 scales here in your list. Okay, so you can add or delete the scales here. Okay, so when you add, so here you can see the annotation object will have 2 symbols attached to the cursor now, because it has 2 scales now. Okay, so this is the way manually you can do it. Okay, when you invoke the object scale through command line, and when you select the object through shortcut menu, also you can invoke the add and delete scale dialog box. Okay, so automatically function is actually just in your status bar. You have to make sure that here the second button, I told you 3 buttons were there First is the annotation scale of the current view, the right one. The middle one is add scales to annotative objects when the annotation scale changes. So basically this is the automatic option. So when this button is on, then it will automatically take all the annotation scales that have been set on the object. Okay, so which you have set as current will be assigned to the annotative object. Okay, without invoking the dialog box, you can just automatically AutoCAD will assign if this button is on. Okay, so now when you switch it on, all the annotation scales that are set as current will automatically added to the object. Okay, irrespective of the layers, whether they are in different layers or not. Okay, but still you can control the assigned annotation scales according to the layer if you want to work as per the layer by using Annotative Scale. So it has a value range from -4 to 4. So basically I'll tell you about all the ranges. That is, first of all, it is 0. When the value is 0, the newly set annotation scale is not added to annotative object. So means it is switched off. Okay. When the value is 1, it adds the annotation scale that you have set the list to annotative objects that supports the current scale except for those on layers that are locked, switched off, frozen or viewport frozen layers. And repeat, if the value is 1, it assigns the current annotation scale to all the annotative objects except the annotative objects that are in the locked layer, in the freeze layer, in the viewport freeze layer, okay, that are turned off layer. So means if you are using a lock layer, if the object is in the lock layer or the freeze layer or an off layer, it will not apply to that particular object. Okay. If the value is 2, then it will apply to all the objects again except the objects which are there in the turned off layer, frozen layer and viewport frozen layer will not be applied annotation scales. So means when the value is 2, the objects which are there in the locked layer, it will be applied to them as well. Okay. When the value ranges to 3, the objects which are there in the locked layers will not have that annotation scale applied. Otherwise, to all of the annotation objects, it will be applied. So means if it is in frozen layer, still it will be applied to it. And when the value is 4, means it is assigned to all the objects, irrespective of any layer. So I'll repeat. If it is 4, so it means automation is on, even for the layers. If it is 0, the automation is off. If it is 1, so it will not be applied to any of the layer which is locked, which is frozen, which is turned off. In range 2, it will be applied to all the objects except the objects which are there in the turned off layer, frozen layer or viewport frozen layer. So means if it is there in the lock layer, it will be applied to them. Okay. And in the third 3 range, if the value is 3, in this range, it will be applied to all the objects, even the frozen layer objects. But to the lock layer objects, it will not be applied. Okay. And all the negative values, okay, when all the values are negative, that is -1, -2, -3, -4, the automatic scale functionality is turned on. But the settings are same. Okay, it means, for example, if -1, if you assign this value, the automatic scale will get turned off. But if when it is switched on, it will regain the value of 1. If the annotation value is -2, if it is switched off, it will switch off the annotation scale, automatic annotation. But when you switch on the scale, it will take the value 2. So be careful about it. So if you want to switch on the automation scale as 4, and if you want to switch off, so type -4. Do not type any other range. Otherwise, it will go in the same range when it comes out, when you switch on. Okay. So if you type -2, so when you switch on, it will go into 2 value range. Okay. And the last topic for today's session is controlling the display of annotative objects. Yes, you can control the display of annotative objects by the third option, the third button, show annotation object. Okay. When you switched on this, so it will always show the annotation object. Okay. It will be displayed according to the previous annotation scale applied to them. If this button is switched off, the annotative objects which are not as per the current scale will not be shown. Okay. But if it is on, irrespective of the current scale, all of the annotation objects will be shown. Okay. So I'll repeat, if the button is turned off, only the annotative objects that have annotation scale equal to that of the current annotation scale will be displayed. If it is switched on, then all of the objects will be displayed. Okay. And one more thing, when you have a particular current annotation scale, so the objects which are equal to your current annotation scale will be dark in lines, and others which have a different scale will be faded in lines. It will be a bit transparent. Okay, so that's all for today. Slowly and steadily in the upcoming sessions you will be applying these skills. You will be comfortable with this annotation scale. So now it is very easy to provide different scales to it. So just switch on that particular button. So basically the first button is annotation scale. That is the third button actually, but I will say from right hand side is the first button. The middle button is auto scale, that is the automatic scale. Okay, and the first one, that is the third from the right, is annotation visibility, which I told you just now. So through this you can control the display of annotative objects. Okay. So in the next session I'll do a quick revision of today's session, and then we'll move on to creating text. Okay. This will be your first annotative object. Thank you, students.